What's going on, guys? Very good day today. Pretty much headacheless type trading, which is obviously what I prefer. Pretty good trades. You know, the losses were minimized. I was upset about one, which was SYN, which I will get into. But first, I think the best ones to discuss are the two best trades, and one was OHRP, which I totally underestimated as far as the timing. I thought I was going to need to consolidate for a couple more days, potentially till Thursday or Friday. You know, obviously I had the big run, and yesterday I was thinking that it was pretty heavy, and we need a little bit of a washout this morning and potentially consolidate for a few days. And then once it broke back through that 350, I figured it'd be game on and we'd have a really nice trade. But as I was watching other things this morning, that 350 came and pulled back, and then it went. And it kept on ripping. So I looked at it and I said, you know what, if I was short this stock, I know this is the type that I would be fighting. I know that this is the type that I'd be thinking that each pullback was going to make me even on the trade, and I would end up covering, and then I'd never cover in time, and then it's going to break out to new highs. So I used all that and I said, you know what, I'm going to buy dips. So that's exactly what I did, and I had mentioned that basically all dips at this point I was going to start to buy and use 350s as a guide. And the reason for 350s is that area of interest. I didn't want to be sized into the point where it dips here 5 cents and I start to freak out and I hit the bid. But I also wanted to give it a big picture chance, and I wanted to at least start in on those dips so that if in the event that it did start to break out, I could add. And so we had some great trades. I was buying the dips and pretty much sold a quarter, a little bit more, ditched the last little bit, and had maybe about 1,000 shares left. And I planned to leave that on, but then it started to kind of peak out and pull back a little bit. So what I immediately noticed and what I was looking for and what I was talking about in the chat room is that 380 level. And this was a pretty big move. And if it was going to break down, it would have done it. And if you go back and look at SYN, when it pulled back, it retested, it failed, retested, failed, washed out, retested, failed. But when you look at OHRP, it pulled back, consolidated, started to hold trend, started to ramp back up, pulled back, recaught itself. And this is what I consider the reclaim. We talk about this a lot in different webinars. I talked about it on the blog post where I was talking about pretty much my year and how I did really well, and then my biggest flaws. And one of the biggest flaws was being patient with a trade just like this, where you're waiting for that late day crack of 380s, and it comes and then it reclaims and it cracks, and you're like, all right, it's going to finally pull back, and you add in size, and all of a sudden it's 380, 385, 390, and then it blows through 4, and you've got size, you're upset, and you just screwed up your entire day. So this is a perfect example of what I was discussing in that blog post, which I would definitely suggest to go and read. So you just draw a line across that 380 level, and you can see why that was of interest, and once that reclaim happens, then you risk based off these lows, and that's exactly what I did. I told the chat on this particular trade, I don't always alert every entry and exit, especially on crowded trades. I've learned over the years that there's some stocks that it's better just to write your game plan. So I'm not looking for credit that it was a great call or whatnot, but I told chat basically that when the 380 reclaimed, I was going to start to buy dips for an end of the day breakout. That's exactly what happened. Personally, I anticipated a little bit. I bought the dips very small, then I added on the 380, pushed 385s, basically using a risk 370s over and under, and sold into the close. It started to continue to go after hours, which is nice. Probably gaps, maybe 450, and gets going towards 5 would be awesome. But particular trades like this, where not necessarily that it's not liquid, it definitely is, but big SSR type stocks, short sell restriction and potential squeezes, crowded trades, I've found that it's better just to write my game plan. And if you don't know what that means, then you shouldn't be trading it, and if you do, then obviously you can make the trade yourself. So This was probably the only trade that I didn't post my actual entries on, and that's on purpose. But very, very nice guidance, very, very nice trade, very good read on what was happening. But I think the most important thing is to look at the action here, go back and read my blog post about the reclaim, and this is my biggest failure, which I actually succeeded with today. And it's a very, very perfect, clear example of, where it breaks down that prior support, starts to catch higher lows, breaks through 390s, and away it went in 430s after hours. So very nice trade right there. Fit, it's important to kind of see the SPY at the same time. So Fit, I started this morning, just 500 shares, and again, just like I told everybody in the room, in the market right now, I'm trading very small on my first entries. It's smaller than my overall average. Normally maybe I trade 1,000, 2,000 shares and go up to 5,000 shares or something. But for me right now, I was walking into a lot of headaches by using too much size out of the open, because usually I'm very good at anticipating a trade out of the gate, but in this market a lot of times they trap out of the gate. A lot of times they do the false move, so it's better just to go ahead and wait until things settle out a little bit. So anyway, long story short, I was a little early, and then it finally pulled back nicely, and I suggested covers into this dip and into this dip. And I also said if you hadn't at this point, make sure you have your own plan. So then it finally started to peak out, and what I would suggest is just go back through chat logs and review. But you can see that this prior level of, this was a resistance point, but then support, then it finally cracked under, washed, retested, and it peaked. Failed, retested, same level, and it peaked. And at that point, I said I was shorting all pops and basically using 48.50s, and then as you average in and whatnot, lower your stop from there, locking in along the way onto washout. So had a very quick washout, covered some, then it ramped right back up towards 47.60s, 47.70s. I actually got a perfect entry add right there into the pop, and then again, like I said, it's good to be kind of watching the SPY at the same time. The overall, sentiment on the market was not good. They were showing Greece pictures and all the riots and whatnot, and everybody just kind of started to freak out a little bit. So the market started to pull back, which brought some nice downside to this. So I ended up covering into the wash. I covered some here, and I covered the rest pretty much all into these bars in the last bit. Towards the 45.80s. So that worked out wonderfully. It was a fantastic trade, and I'm actually really happy about the covers because, there's been so many times like AMBA and I don't know, a million other, even Fit, on other days where I nail this big pullback. You're up to $2.50, $3 a share, and you're thinking, well, it is a big chart. It could pull back, maybe go 45 to 43 or something, and then all of a sudden you look and you're even. So this was I was really excited about those covers because it finally was a spot on cover, not really looking for more, and just a non-greedy approach, which is exactly what I was looking for. One that I forgot to talk about, which was kind of important, is SYN, and I had been watching this thing for quite some time. We were actually long this day, had a nice little breakout, then it pulled back, and I need to start watching these big volume days that pull back, consolidate, and then when they re-break that prior top, I've got to pay better attention to them because this was a very, very nice breakout. This morning, everybody was very, very short bias, and it was at like 405s, 410s, 415s, and everybody kept on kind of shorting, but it was still very, very thin. And so I used that opportunity to go ahead and get long, thinking that we have a potential breakout. And you can see nice little ramp back up, 420s, ramp again, 430s, pulls back, ramp again, 430s, and it was trending along just like OHRP. However, it started to kind of hit a wall. 430s again, lower highs. lower high. It's just started to get really heavy. And when you draw a line across here, the 415s, it pretty much broke the midday support. It's very important to kind of see the trend here and see how you can kind of anticipate it. And you know, obviously in hindsight, it's easy to see, but you know, when I went long at 413s, and my thought process was, you know, potential move towards 450s, just like OHRP. And sure, the chart's extended, but we have a pretty nice potential squeeze, potential breakout, and you know, it was trending very, very well. And so I started to get into lull, and as you noticed, and as I wrote, I had sized down. I wasn't interested in being in as much size as I was, because you know, you're getting into lull, things happen during lull, and if it's not continuing a breakout, if you're not at highs and you're kind of bouncing around back towards you know, your entry, then you might as well just go ahead and size down risk, because just like we talk about 2-3 p.m. plus, we like to look for dips for opportunity to get long for the end of the day move. So why remain top heavy? So probably more luck than anything, but size down as I had written. And then the original plan, buying these dips and whatnot, was to risk off of 4 over and under. So as I discussed in the last video, you know, it snaps under that 4 and then retest, and then it starts to get heavy again and fails. So I went ahead, and you can see retest, fail, and then starts to fade off. So I went ahead and ditched the trade. Look how good of a decision that was, and why it's important to have that stop loss, why it's important to stick with it. Because it could have been disaster just thinking, hey, you know what, I'll just stick around, I'll see what it does. I'll you know, maybe it climbs back. So it ended up washing out, and these types of candles are from all the stubborn traders that didn't take a loss. They were stubborn about it. They didn't respect the trend. And you know, whether or not there was a leak about the offering that came out after hours, who knows? That's probably why it got heavy. But the point is that was a perfect loss, perfect place to exit, perfect reasoning, and you know, it just goes to show you, you know, remain safe. Same thing with FELE the other day, you know, where there's really big range, and you know, if you don't have a true plan, and you don't have that place where you're going to exit, that place where you know, you know that you need to go ahead and get out, then you know, you're just going to let the market decide your fate. So this FELE ended up being a perfect trade. I got short in the low 29s, expecting a push towards 30s. Had 2 good covers, ended up squeezing up towards 30s. I took the rest off, but that gave me the ability to come back at it the next day. So point being is, you know, things like this, there's a reason why you have a plan. Stick to your plan, and you know, it's going to save you. So that's it, guys, and sorry for the double videos, but you know, I wanted to talk about this one.